What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had taken a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Tuesday edition of the Pandemic Update for Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update, so welcome to my channel. Not familiar with what the pandemic update is? Yes, we talk about COVID. COVID is still a problem, as is many other viruses around the country and around the world. Let's face it, the COVID pandemic never ended, but during this time, we have seen many other viruses that have become big problems, and you know what? We do, to a certain degree, take viruses more seriously now. The media, the government, they don't. But those who are in the know take this more seriously, and guess what? We're starting to realize, hey, COVID, it's a big deal. Every day we find out something new what COVID can do. In terms of long COVID, we're in the middle of a surge right now. Did you know that? I bet a lot of people don't even know how big of a surge there is right now. Let's put it to you this way. The Olympics have turned into a super spreader. Several people are testing positive in the United States. This is a big deal, and you need to be informed with what's going on so you yourself do not test positive for COVID or any of these other viruses that are out there. Want to stay informed with these viruses? Well, I do the pandemic update each and every day. I try to do it every day. And for the most part, I do follow through with that. Subscribe down below if you want to see the update. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I do the update. Give this a thumbs up by hitting that like button. If you do that, it helps more people stay informed because YouTube will then push this throughout the algorithm. And of course, share these videos with anyone you know and leave a comment down below. Alright, starting off today once again with the Summer Olympics, which really is starting to turn into a super spreader. Now, we're not going to sit here and read off every COVID positive, but I will read to you the details and a couple of them. First off, U.S. Olympic swimmers David Johnston and Luke Whitelock have tested positive for COVID-19 in Paris. They have been moved to a hotel to isolate at this time, and for the most part, that's what we're seeing, although there have been some cases where it doesn't sound like they're isolating. And not everyone is masking here as well. It's really a screwy situation. It's not a good situation. They're doing this in the middle of a surge of new variants all around the world, and some people are dropping out of the race. So here's the current total number of people positive. I first put today that it was 13, then we found another swimmer was positive. So it is 14 people who have currently tested positive for COVID. That number could be higher, as Belgium never stated exactly how many of their athletes have tested positive for COVID, though they did state that they had several people positive. And the total number of people that are either listed with an illness, not COVID, because there have been some that didn't state what their illnesses are, or some that have dropped out because they previously had COVID or some other reason just before, some other sickness reason, just before the event. It's now up to 20 people total and quickly growing, and I am sure tomorrow I'll probably have more to report on this matter. Moving on to California, where Representative Ted Lieu, Democrat from California, announced Tuesday that he recently tested positive for COVID-19 and took the opportunity to thank former President Trump for his role in supporting the vaccine development. Okay, he's thanking him for the vaccine, although he just had a breakthrough infection after being vaccinated. Make it make sense, and I do not know if he was in attendance at that speech that Benjamin Netanyahu gave last week. If anyone knows anything about that, let me know down below if he was there or not. I'm assuming he may have been there, but I honestly don't know. Alright, we do finally have an update for New Zealand this week. COVID-19 update. 1,761 new cases and 16 further deaths have been reported in New Zealand. There were 134 cases in the hospital, none of whom were in the intensive care unit. I don't know what it takes to get into the intensive care unit in New Zealand, but it seems like we report that every week, and yet every week they continue to report deaths. You'd think at least a couple would be in the ICU, but I don't know. Here we are. Alright, I have to share this with you. I personally witnessed a location of a COVID outbreak today. Now, mind you, I was masked. No, not with this mask that I use for videos, but I was masked with one of my good N95 masks as I was doing a delivery in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania this morning. And if you want to be precise and know where, this is in the Drescher portion of Montgomery County, Upper Dublin Township, and unfortunately, I came across this COVID outbreak at a senior nursing home. And mind you, the instructions said just leave at the front desk. Well, I did that and got out of there real quickly because look what the sign says. We currently have COVID positive residents in the building. We ask that when in the building you wear a face mask for your protection. Please see concierge for a mask. Now, I got a couple problems with this. One, I did not see a single person besides myself wearing a mask. Masking does work, so before you start typing down there, stop typing that line that says, oh, well, masks don't work. That's why no one was wearing a mask. No, proper N95 masking does work. They're currently dealing with an outbreak. Now, is it possible this sign could be an older sign? It is, but this sign looks relatively recent, and the last time I delivered to this place, which was, I don't even remember what it was, within the last month, they did not have this sign up, and we do know that there has been an increase in some parts of Pennsylvania. I'll show you the update on that in a moment. It's not increasing as much, but there has been some increases here in Pennsylvania, and another thing that I have a problem with, they told me, the person I was delivering to, oh, you can leave that at the desk. They're currently in a meeting. Hello. Have you ever heard of the word Zoom? I mean, you're dealing with a COVID outbreak in your facility. You might want to do your meetings via Zoom. Now's not the time to have these in-person meetings. Now, I don't know how many people were at the meeting, but it is relatively disturbing that they're holding activities like that maskless when there's an outbreak in the facility. Back in 2020, remember how much we tried to save our seniors and keep them safe in facilities, which I know there were a ton of deaths at senior nursing facilities back in 2020, but come on. Now it's like no one cares, and that is just totally ridiculous. All right, moving on now to this. South Dakota health officials report measles case in adult, and if memory serves me correct, yes, it does say this here. This is the first case that they have had in their state in nearly a decade. What a surprise? No, not really, because we have seen this happen time and time again. Yesterday, we were asked a question that has to deal with how long does COVID immunity last after an infection? And I did write a note to myself that I would search COVID immunity after infection. Now, mind you, I'm not a medical professional. I am not a, college degreed virologist or anything of that. I'm just someone, a concerned citizen that reports to you the data every day. But I have read several studies. I have educated myself on my own about this subject and about several other things. And I think the best way to go about this, I was going to read you excerpts from an article, but I think the best way to go about this is to tell you COVID. It started back in 2020. Some people even got it in late 2019. And there was the original Wuhan 1.0 variant. We have come a long way since then. We had Alpha, we had Beta, we had Delta, we had BA.1, we had the original Omicron, we have now what is KP.3. Each variant has different characteristics, and each variant is different in the sense of how immune evasive it is. We do develop some sort of antibodies after a COVID infection, and our immune system does try and memorize that through our T cells, our different cells in our body. However, with variants having different characteristics, with there being some variants that are more immune evasive, your immunity could wane rather quickly. Most articles will tell you that it is between 4 to 6 months, but as this virus continues to evolve, you may have one variant where, okay, fine, your body has developed some antibodies to that, but then a new variant comes along that has completely different characteristics, and you know what? You could test positive even in a shorter time frame from that. Some people have gone the entire pandemic without testing positive at all. Some people have had it one time. I had it one time back in early 2020. Mind you, I take all the proper precautions. Knock on wood, I have been able to avoid it since then, and I mean, immunity, it lasts different for each and every person. A lot of it depends on your own immune system, your body's ability to fight off infection. There are a lot of different things that can, make it individualized, personal, just for you. And I'm going to try and put something together on my website. I'll have a thread going with a bunch of different articles that talk about immunity against COVID infection. And who knows, maybe that will become a section in our COVID studies archive. Alrighty, moving on. I hope that answered your question. I tried the best I could. Alright, national allergy map time. 40% of the country is in medium status today. We do see a lot of orange in the midsection of the country, and then some scattered orange in the northeast and in the mid-south as well. Taking a look at air qualities for today, they continue to be bad in a ton of places, especially on the west coast as the wildfires continue to go. But you can see here, slightly better today. We do note Wyoming, Montana, Idaho are a little bad still, and portions of California continue to be bad, and Washington and Oregon, a little bit better in Washington today, still problems in Oregon. Canada has problems. East Coast, the Northeast, and the Great Lakes continue to have moderate to poor air qualities today. And taking a look at heat-related illnesses, they continue to be a problem across portions of the Northeast. Really concerned about this, much higher than average heat-related illnesses up in New England, in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And on the West Coast, there continues to be heat-related illness issues as well, and in Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, and then scattered about throughout the rest of the country. If you want to learn more about the climate and weather, I do have another place where I do that. It is Climate Data Report over on X, and I do have another channel, Climate Data Report, as well, right here on YouTube. Probably won't get a video out today, but at some point this week, I hope to get another video out there. Alright, back to health. Philadelphia had 829 EMS calls for yesterday, and let's take a look at something that we were looking at yesterday and see if it's any better today, and that is the transit agency in southeast Pennsylvania. Take a look at this. Once again, operator unavailability, operator unavailability. We're entering rush hour now, and there are trains that are being canceled. And today is a big in-person office day, as Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays usually are. So, yep, our new normal. It's so fantastic, isn't it? Taking a look now at Montgomery County. Well, this was quiet just a few minutes ago. And once again, it's gotten busy. 14 active calls. We do see stroke. We do see stroke actually a couple times. And then we see a bunch of other things as well. Taking a look at Chester County. Whoa, what is going on here? This was not like this before I started recording just 15 minutes ago. Respiratory difficulty, injured person, syncope, heart problems, unconscious person, emotional disorder, falls and list assist, sick person, hypotension, back pain, falls, abdominal pain, heart problems, on and on it goes. Wow, look at this. This is totally ridiculous that there are this many calls. I mean, this is what we would expect to see in the wintertime. Ambulances usually are busier in the winter months, but here we are, middle of summer, with just not even just one type of thing, it's just a scattering of different types of calls. Totally ridiculous. Alright, speaking of Pennsylvania, we have to take a look at the Pennsylvania update for today, and we do note there's a large increase in COVID wastewater up in Scranton, up in the lower Susquehanna Valley, which includes Harrisburg, York County, Cumberland County, like Carlisle. They're seeing increases at this time, and we do see a stabilizing in southeast Pennsylvania and even a decrease in portions of northwest Montgomery County and stabilizing across the rest of the state. We'll have to see what happens. We're just a few weeks away from back to college. Back to college has a history in Pennsylvania of causing surges. Yes, I know the wave was earlier this year, but there's a lot of partying. There's a lot of things that go on with back to college, and we have that KP.3, .1 variant that is just getting ready to start to rise here in Pennsylvania. Alright, quickly, let's take a look at a few Walgreens positivity numbers for today. National positivity trend is 39.4%. The prior week was 39.6%. That's down 0.2%. Total test, 8,132. The prior week was 7,637. Arkansas, Your positivity rate went up 42.9%, and the prior week was 28.8%. That is up by 14%. 84 tests versus 59. That, my friends, is a legitimate rise. Missouri, 39.2% positivity rate, 33.3% last week. That is up by 5.9%. Total test, 148 versus 156. It's not a huge drop in testing, but it's enough that, yeah, part of it's because of testing, part of it is your cases may still be rising. Florida, 39.5% positivity rate. The prior week was 42.8%. Denver's down 3.3%, and testing is down. 929 total tests versus 1,021. Though you probably have peaked right now, when we go to the Florida dashboard like we do sometimes, I'm being told that there is going to be some backlogs that are going to be released for Florida because they're undergoing some computer issues. Sounds like they may have been hacked or something. Virginia today is 37.7%. The prior week was 33.6%. That's up 4%. Total test, 268 versus 211. Yes, that is a legit rise. Arizona this week, 40.7% versus 36.4%. That's a difference of up 4.2%. Total test, 246 versus 228. And let's go to a green state. How about Nebraska? Nebraska today, 41.7% versus 51.4%. That is down by 9.8%. Total test, 60 versus 35. So you are legit dropping. And finally, Illinois, 39.9% versus 41.4%. That's down 1.5%. With a big testing increase, 642 versus 515. Let's take a look at the national wastewater level on wastewater scan. We can see it had been continuing up, but now there is somewhat of a wonky movement. Wouldn't surprise me if we see this flatten out for a little bit of time and then maybe remain high for a while before eventually dropping. So that is your national COVID level right now for wastewater from wastewater scan. We'll see what happens when that wonky movement corrects. But if I had to guess, we could maybe see a flattening soon because we might be starting to see some areas peak. Taking a look at hospitalizations in New Jersey, and unfortunately, New Jersey has not yet peaked for hospitalizations, or at least not today because they rose even higher. 486 hospitalizations, 68 out of 70 hospitals reporting. Discharges 42 at this time, 10 people on a ventilator, and 40 people in the ICU at this time. All right, New York State, 1,410 new COVID cases reported today. It does look like on a statewide level, they possibly might be peaking, and that is because New York City at this time has peaked. There are other parts of New York State that are continuing to rise. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. When we take a look at the current statewide hospitalizations, we do note here that it was a very small increase today of 1,153. Now, that's a little bit significant compared to the number that was reported yesterday, but when we look week over week, last week at this time it was 1,148. That's only 5 higher. And the number of people in the ICU is actually lower at 103. But when we take a look at the different regions here, and this is going to refresh on us, I'll first show you New York City. And you will see that New York City at this time actually dropped. New York City dropping on Tuesday, that is a very good thing, my friends. 497 people hospitalized there. 50 people in the ICU at this time. But let's go to some other regions. Is it the same in all regions? No. Western New York is actually higher. 37 people hospitalized and 2 people in the ICU. That's an increase of 4 people in the hospital. When we take a look at North Country, we can see there. Yeah, look at this. When you take a look at the chart perspective, it's a pretty big increase. Yesterday they had reported 18, which is really from last week's numbers. Today they report 24. So it is still rising in other portions of New York State. Let's take a look at the Capital Region. Capital Region did drop today, and Long Island did drop today as well. So it is good to see New York State dropping. When we take a look at the variants in New York City's page reports that the dominating variant is the LB.1 variant, and we do not see that KP 3.1.1 variant just yet. So that's telling me, at least in New York City, that variant has yet to complete its course or even start its course. LB.1, which again is not dominant anywhere else in the United States, at least not on a national level, is dominant in New York City, so it makes sense that maybe they are peaking for that variant. We'll have to see if anything happens with these other variants. Right now, New York City, though at high levels, is starting to drop. And again, we will have to wait and see what happens with any of these other variants. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Tuesday edition of the Pandemic Update. Boy, that was a lot of information, wasn't it? And I hope to the user that asked a question about COVID immunity, I hope we did answer your question. I tried the best I could. If I got it wrong, or if anyone has any input, leave it down below. Like this video? Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want more content. Hit that notification bell. Share these videos with anyone you know. And of course, leave your comments down below. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe everyone, and have a fantastic Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for watching.